So Nikki Haley, as all of you know, is hailed as the moderate option on the right. So you have Donald Trump, who, I mean, doesn't even require an explanation or a definition. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. You have DeSantis, who I think is viewed as sort of half Donald Trump, one foot in the Trump camp, the other foot in the establishment camp. And then you have Nikki Haley, who's like fully the establishment candidate. But these days, the media conflates that with a more moderate option. Well, I guess she's moderate in the sense that if she loses the election, she would actually step aside. So she is okay with the peaceful transition of power. Wow, what a low bar. So in that sense, I'll give you that she's moderate. But outside of that, I don't see it, man. She's the neocon's neocon. She's as hawkish can be. She's very right-wing on economic policy. So now we have some new stuff that just came out, which really highlights how extreme she actually is. So first, let's go to this. She's on a show on the Daily Signal, or at some, conservative conference or whatever it is. And she's been under fire lately around abortion, because in the debate, she says certain things on abortion which seem more moderate sounding than everybody else on stage. Originally you had people like Mike Pence, who wants to ban it from the moment of conception. If it was up to him, a gamete and a zygote should be protected, and you probably wouldn't even be allowed to jerk off legally if Mike Pence had his way. Well, Haley slightly pushes back on some of that, and so the media's like, oh, what a wonderful moderate in the Republican Party. Look at how she answers this question on abortion.
If you were governor of South Carolina and that came to your desk, would you sign a heartbeat bill?
Yes.
Heartbeat bill would be banning abortion at 6 weeks. This is something she's gone after DeSantis for, signing the 6-week abortion ban. She's saying, I'd sign it. So what are we talking about here? Look, here's the difference. And I'm going to explain how her position is totally incoherent here in a second. But all the other Republicans on stage, most of them, their position is, let's have a national abortion ban. Now, I'm sure, I don't know where they each individually draw the line. Would it be 15 weeks, which was floated by the likes of Lindsey Graham in the Senate? Would it be 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 6 weeks, moment of conception? But they want a national abortion ban. So the old Republican position when Roe v. Wade was the law of the land, their position was just get rid of Roe v. Wade and let the states decide. Then when Roe v. Wade got overturned, they moved the goalpost. They were like, well, now maybe we should just ban abortion nationally. So Haley, in an attempt to sound moderate, says, who, me? Me, I am personally as pro-life can get. You won't find anybody more pro-life than me, but I do still want to leave it up to the states. So in other words, under Nikki Haley, you'd have like New York, California, Hawaii, the more liberal states could have more lenient abortion policy. But in the red states, they're going to crack down. Now, but what's her actual position in terms of if, as a governor, what would she do? Yeah, if I got a 6-week abortion ban, of course I'm going to sign it. So look, in a sense, that is more moderate, right? That is more moderate, but it also happens to be totally and utterly incoherent as well, right? Because if your argument is, I think this is a life, I think you're committing murder if you do abortion, which, when you push any of these people, that's what they say. Well, then it's pretty incoherent to say, I think murder should be banned in the conservative states, but in the liberal states, if they want to do a little bit of murder here and there, by all means, it's their free choice to decide whether or not they want to murder. No, it's like either murder's right or it's right or it's wrong. It should be legal or illegal. But she tries to, walk this line of, well, leave it up to the states, but me personally, I'm super duper duper pro-life, and I would sign a 6-week abortion ban. Okay, so this is her trying to stave off criticism from the hardcore conservatives. Nikki, I got news for you. It doesn't matter how far to the right you run. It's Trump's party right now. It just is. And she's still in third place behind DeSantis as well. So, I mean, she's trying, but she's coming up short. She had one moment in the sun in one of the debates, and then she's floundered ever since then. All right, but now, so we're just getting started. This is actually the less extreme position compared to what I'm about to play for you right now. So she goes on Hannity. They're talking about foreign policy, and listen to what she says.
Status how corrupt that organization is. So my final lead-up question is this. Should America once and for all cut ties with all of these globalist organizations? And if you ever became president, would you do that?
If I become president, we will get out of the Human Rights Council. We would certainly not get back into the Paris Climate Agreement.
Would we get out of the UN?
We would get out of the World Health Organization. The UN, the only thing is we would defund the UN as much as possible. The only reason, Sean, you don't get out of the UN is we're one country of 5 that has a veto. And the number of things we were able to stop China, Russia, and Iran from doing with that veto matters. And so you keep bad things from happening. But we don't have to pay at the level that we're paying, and we don't have to be in any of those other organizations.
So her contribution to the Israel-Gaza situation was, hey, Netanyahu, quote, finish them, end quote. Finish them. Which is super ominous. Because even if she says she's talking about Hamas, well, it's not really possible. How are you going to know you killed all Hamas members? But more importantly, the way a lot of people interpreted it was just all of Gaza. Finish the Palestinians in Gaza. So as hawkish can be, immediately started calling for war with Iran after the Hamas attack on Israel. And then now, look, she just said it. Get out of the Human Rights Council. Don't get back into the Paris Climate Agreement. So climate change, by all means, let's destroy the climate as much as possible. And get out of the World Health Organization and defund the UN as much as possible. It's so ironic to me that the people who scream from the rooftops, law and order, we're in favor of law and order. When it comes to international law, like, oh, no, we're done with that. Pull out of the Human Rights Council. These people don't want the U.S. to be subject to the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, the Human Rights Council. They don't, international law, that to us and our allies, international law, schminter, splash, flaw. We don't care. That doesn't apply to us. And of course, she was a big cheerleader of the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, torture, Guantanamo Bay, Abu Ghraib. So understand something. This is nobody's moderate. This is as extreme as extremism gets. It doesn't get more extreme than this. So we have to put away, like, the mainstream media framing of Nikki Haley is astonishing. And remember, they tried to push her as the Trump alternative. As everything be better off with her. No, if it was her, we'd already be back. We'd be at war with Iran. We'd be at war with probably Hezbollah in Lebanon as well. Might as well throw Syria in the mix too. Get back into Afghanistan. Stay in Iraq. Totally destroy any semblance of international cooperation at all. But like, pulling out of the World Health, like, what? Pulling out of the World Health Organization? Why? I mean, it's a mix of like the worst kind of isolationism in the sense that there's no international cooperation with extreme neocon hawkishness, with social conservatism, with extreme economic conservatism. Deregulation, tax cuts for the rich, tax cuts for corporations. So like, who is this appealing to, man? And, you know, she's falling for the same thing that DeSantis fell for. Early on, DeSantis thought, I have to find a way to beat Trump. How can I do it? I got it. I will out-conservative Donald Trump. And so that's why he signed the 6-week abortion ban, for example. You know, there were a number of policies that he pursued that were not moderate, not centrist, not in the middle. They were extreme because he thought maybe I can beat Trump by outflanking him on the right on a variety of issues. Well, you misread the situation because it's not like Trump was supported by the base because he was the most conservative in 2016. That's not why he was supported, but they kind of thought he was. They fell into that trap. And so Nikki Haley now trying to outflank everybody on the right and think, well, that'll lead to my surge in the polls. No. What would lead to a surge in the polls for you is if you somehow morphed into Donald Trump. Because right now it's all about vibes, and he's the guy that's leading by a mile and a half. And if you're not going to win the vibe off, you're not going to win anything. So, Jesus Christ, she's going to keep running further and further and further right. Just like DeSantis. So understand something. There are no moderate options for the Republican primary candidates. There just aren't. You know, even if you point somebody like Christie, who aggressively goes after Trump, if you actually look what he's for in terms of policy, it's super conservative. So the place we're at right now is devastating. It's devastating. Weak, ineffectual Democrats. You know, don't even get me started on Biden. And then you got this on the Republican side. Really looks like imperial decline, late-stage capitalist hellscape. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.